Some people are firm on the notion that social media is bad for society. Some say that it disconnects us more than it connects us. They point to the increases in depression and anxiety as reasons why it's not good for our mental health. But I want to give you one example where social media has had a fantastic impact on our society. In the midst of my social media fame, I started a foundation called Limitless Tomorrow. And my aim was to help other individuals and even companies who aspire to do great things in this world, to make a change that affects all of us as humans. The startup funding for this foundation started through a unique collaboration between Coffee Meets Bagel, a dating app, and myself. I ended up auctioning a date off for charity and raised almost $100,000 for my new foundation. Now, a lot of people have asked me questions, where did that money go? Where does it go now? This video highlights a prime example of a person set out to change the world in a positive way for us all. Meet Dr. Angelo Leto Barone.
Approximately 10 million people overall in the world suffer from various ear and nose deformities. At Reconstrata, we have a dream. We imagine a world where we can easily treat these severe facial deformities in an easy, reliable, and cost-effective way. So basically, thanks to Limitless Tomorrow, we were able to create a cookie cutter for ear and nose reconstruction.
Dr. Leto Barone, can you tell us what your current position is and how you figured out that you're going to go into your field of choice? And because we have a lot of medical students watching, they're trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. They're curious to know about all aspects of medicine. So how did you get into the field that you're in now? Absolutely.
So I was actually 6 years old, and I saw this man go around my town back home in Italy, and he was going around. He had a complete burn of his face, and it was completely disfigured. And I was looking at this person, and I saw that he had lost like a sense of self. So I just pulled my mom, and I was like, who's the doctor who does that, who fixes that? And she was like, being a physician herself.
Pretty impressive for a 6-year-old.
Right? And she was like, oh, plastic surgeon. I was like, that's what I want to be.
But you have a unique journey because you didn't just go and do the specialty here in the United States. You were born in Italy, right?
Correct.
Palermo is your hometown?
Yep, where I went to medical school.
Nice.
Yep.
And how did you do that? Did you go through medical school right away? What's the training in Italy like?
So the training is you do 5 years of high school, and then it was very rigorous. Okay. And then you go straight into medical school, which is 6 years.
Which is different than what we have here in the United States because we do high school, university, then medical school.
Correct.
And then in medical school, were you set in saying, I'm going to specialize in plastic surgery?
I was set. Everyone kept saying, you're going to change your mind 1,000 times. Didn't happen. I had my mission.
Okay.
And I stuck with it. And I went to the University of Palermo Medical School. Mm-hmm. Then I was recruited to the residency with the program there. Mm-hmm. And then I decided that
now, is that a competitive process? Because here in the United States, if you want a plastic surgery residency, very difficult. You have to be at the top of your class. As you know, if you're a foreign graduate, it's very difficult to get a position in plastic surgery residency. So how is that in Italy? Does that compare?
It's also very challenging. There is less spots, mm-hmm. And also less people applying. But at the same time, you can only apply to one program at a time.
Wow. Okay.
So I applied to the only program that I was interested in, and you either match or don't match. Okay. So it's a little bit more...
Scarier.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little scarier. I did a lot of research through residency. Mm-hmm. Few years I was at Harvard, at the Mass General, and then I went back home, finished residency, and decided to come back and join the Johns Hopkins University of Maryland program.
Interesting. So what kind of research did you do there while you were?
It was mostly tissue engineering and vascularized composite allotransplantation, which is...
That's not complicated at all, by the way. Totally easy to say.
It's a fancy word for face and hand transplant research.
Okay.
So you know that these operations, besides being extremely challenging, mm-hmm. they require a lot of immunosuppressants to make sure that the body doesn't reject the face from the cadaver who donated it.
Very impressive stuff. You're working at Johns Hopkins, you're a happy but very tired plastic surgery resident, yes. And you wake up one morning or you're in the OR one day and you say, I have an idea. Take me through that.
So it was both in Italy and the US that the idea started, but mostly in Italy. Mm-hmm. We were doing a case and we were basically having problems with the cartilage and lacking cartilage, and And I was thinking, as we were trying to treat this microtia case, so this kid was born without an ear, and we were trying to carve this ear out of rib cartilage, which is the cartilage that comes from the rib cage. I realized that it was a process that was that entailed a great amount of detail and skill that probably most plastic surgeons do not have, despite going severe training. But it also required a very long surgery. And this is, of course, suboptimal for a patient who's 10 years old and who has to undergo a 12-hour operation. So I was like, this is 2017 or 2015 or whatever year it was, 2012, and we cannot do this. We cannot have this operation last this long. So I thought, what if somebody made a cookie cutter that could allow us to do this very quickly?
Do you like cookies? Is that why you went to the cookie
Love
cutter?
cookies.
Okay.
I like the Cookie Monster.
See, we never really give cookies any benefit because we always blame diabetes on cookies, all these issues. But look, cookies can save the world, and clearly they were a motivating factor here. So
Absolutely, just like playing with Play-Doh, right?
Exactly.
There was really a humanitarian mission and purpose behind it, as in the US, it's easy to perform such an operation with these incredibly talented surgeons.
Sure.
And with the resources that we have, but there are resource-poor countries that cannot have either access to plastic surgeons with that training or have the economical potential to undergo the surgery.
Sure.
So we thought if we make this cookie cutter, we could actually go to these countries and not only as a company donate this device to those hospitals, but also bring our own set of physicians and train them to perform the operation without basically giving them a fish, but basically teaching them how to fish. One of my students who was actually writing papers with me and who was very interested in plastic surgery, who holds a biomedical engineering degree from MIT, told me one day, like,
That's
hey,
not impressive.
not
Yes,
impressive
it is.
at all. Too bad he couldn't be here today.
Okay.
But so basically, he was like, "Do you have any ideas that we can actually bring to fruition?" Because he had like a month off, and I thought, you know what? In Italy, I thought of this cookie cutter. We need to really bring it to life. And we designed it together, and we started a Kickstarter campaign, which is actually how we got in touch with you,
Yep.
looking for funds.
Today's a great day because today's the first day that I actually see your device.
Yes,
right? This
absolutely.
magical device that can change so many people's lives. And we have the device right here with us.
Yep.
This beautiful, very beautiful project. Not only is it functional, but it looks great. So that whole aspect is there from a plastic surgery standpoint. So tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So this is Horizon, and was mostly funded through our Kickstarter campaign, as well as the Limitless Tomorrow's funds that you graciously awarded us. So it's basically modular components. You have a top cassette that is basically customizable, and then this would be anchored. There you go, super easy. And then you would remove the base cassette. You would select the cassette that has
There's sizes here if you don't see.
right. So this is a small ear, which is a 48 millimeters, for example.
I have small ears.
And this gives basically an idea of where the cartilage should sit in order to be stamped appropriately with the blade. You would just press. And
boom.
once you, boom,
You have
once
an
you
ear.
raise it, you have something that you can suture together with wires.
Now, how much time does a process like this save from the actual sculpting? Because there are surgeons in the world that can do it relatively quickly, but you could probably count them on one hand.
Right. I was lucky enough to actually go to Dr. Nagata's clinic in Japan. He's the guru of ear reconstruction and one of the surgeons who advanced the field.
Sure.
So currently the gold standard of reconstruction is his technique, which is what this allows to do super quick.
Okay.
So Nagata can do this operation in about 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
Most surgeons take up to 12 hours. And as you have mentioned before, 1 minute in the OR costs $82.
Wow.
So if you consider 12 hours of an operation of this kind, the cost would be about $45,000. You guys do the math.
Wow.
So this would allow to carve everything at a very precise level in a matter of seconds.
Excellent.
And then the assembling, and then the
Actual attachment.
the attachment to a subcutaneous pocket would take probably like an hour or two.
And now the other techniques that exist, what's the difference between those and?
So there is another technique that uses a polymer and a synthetic ear framework, and
So
that
it's not
is-
human.
It's not human.
It's made out of different compounds that are not found within.
Correct. It's basically biocompatible plastic.
Okay.
And you basically put underneath the skin flaps, and you create an ear. Unfortunately, the results are not always optimal, and not in everyone's hands are optimal. And at the same time, it's still a foreign body, so it can give a lot of inflammation, it can give infections, it can stick out, and we call that extrusion. And when it sticks out, usually the whole area gets infected. You can go back to square one or even to a worse scenario.
Has there ever been thought about using donor application cartilage, or is that, or maybe even animal cartilage? You know, pig cartilage is used all
Absolutely.
over in medical stuff. So-
Absolutely. So a pig cartilage or cadaveric cartilage have a hurdle, which is the fact that pig cartilage is a xenotransplant, so it's a transplant between two different species, and for that reason, it will be rejected.
Okay.
So it could not be used. So it would resorb and actually create probably an infection
Got
as
it.
well. At the same time, cadaveric cartilage, which we use actually during this kind of reconstruction, has been irradiated, and the cells are not going to.
They're not quality.
Well, they're not going to give an immunological response, so they're not going to be attacked by your own body. So it is used. Sometimes it resorbs a lot, and often we do not get enough of that in big pieces to really make the ear. So we really need to get the patient's own ribs.
Got it. What's the next step? How are we going to see this in real world application? How long does that take?
So as you can imagine, it takes a long time because first it will need to be tested by skilled surgeons in a very controlled fashion, which is what we plan on doing at my institution. It could be as quick as 1 or 2 years. It could take way longer. It really all depends on the funding that we will be able to secure, and then of course the reach that we can get through you and in general through our institution and you guys.
Yeah. So people want to learn more about the Ryzen device. They want to maybe even donate and help you achieve even more spectacular results with the device. What do they do? Where do they go?
So they can donate definitely to our company. We are setting up a non-for-profit branch that will allow us to finance both the device and the humanitarian mission portion of it.
We want to give a huge thank you for having you here today.
Thank you for having me.
And all the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best of luck for myself and I'm sure everyone watching at home.
Thank you very much.